who doesn't love a good list? The NHL preview continues as we look at the top 10 players in the NHL this season. These always get good debates going. So if you very aggressively disagree with me in the comment section, by all means, let me have it. But I'm really interested in your guys' thoughts on these. So let's get right into it. Coming in at number 10, it is Artemi Panarin. I think this guy has all the talent in the world. There was a touch of a fall off in the playoffs for the Rangers, and that worries me about putting him here slightly. But you look at what the true marking of like top players is, and one of the things is makes those around you better. Who hasn't gotten better from playing with Artemi Panarin? Mika Zibanejad's career turned around by playing with Panarin, and now Zibanejad is making guys around him better. But you put some of the kids with Panarin, and all of a sudden Lafreniere is taken off, and I'm not saying that's the reason why, but it just anyone who plays with Panarin gets better. He has unbelievable sense of the ice. He has a really good scoring touch as well. The one thing he hasn't done is proven that he can be the best player on a championship team, and I do think that window is kind of closing with the Rangers a little bit, but this is still, I think, legitimately one of the best players in the world. At 9, I have Nikita Kucherov. He still has a bomb of a shot, but I do think that just assuming that he is a similar to a 43-year-old Alex Ovechkin, where all he does is just spam one-timers the whole time, that is incorrect. This is a guy who, again, has a very good playmaking sense, that knows for the net, plays a competitive physical style as well, just does all the things you want your star player to do. And again, you have proof of concept. He's done it in the playoffs a bunch. Tampa Bay is going to be relying on him more this season, if that's possible. With Steven Stamkos gone, yes, they brought in Gensel. As the previews go along, you will come to find that I view that as a not insignificant downgrade. So I think that there's going to be a lot riding on Nikita Kucherov this season, and I think he's going to be able to perform, but he comes in at number 9 on our list. At number 8, it is Sidney Crosby. You still have to put him on this list. And honestly, maybe I have him a little bit too low based off of how great he was last season. I think you put him on any of the teams represented in the top part of this list, and he would have like 170 billion points. Like he is that good. Has he fallen off a little bit? Maybe a touch, but he is still, again, just everything you want your star player to be in terms of making those around you better. And just, he also has the ability that maybe Panarin lacks a little bit, that Kucherov has certainly shown, but that the other guys on this list definitely have as well, where it is late in the game and it's just like, hey, you know what? I've decided we're not losing today. And Crosby basically did that for 2 months with a really bad Pittsburgh team. So he absolutely deserves to be on this list as a top 10 player in the NHL. At 7, Quinn Hughes. I think he was severely underrated going into last year. Maybe this year he gets a little bit overrated, but I had to put him on this list. When you look at the skating ability that he has, the work in his own end is a work in progress for sure. But they have found a chemistry with him with a couple of guys, and you can see that the comfort that he has. His sense in the offensive zone is so good. His use of his skating ability to create just a little bit of space in offense and then create some better angles to either get a shot away or create opportunities for others, both very strong. And so I do think that Quinn Hughes is someone that deserves to be on this list and provides a real opportunity for the Canucks to be good again this season. At 6, it's Austin Matthews. Again, big body who can skate and put the puck in the net. The playoffs be damned. This is still, I think, one of the best players in the league. His combination of skating, hands, touch around the net, all of those things. Like, he is a big dude who can play like a big dude, but also can play like a teeny little dude, is something that is quite impressive to me. And we can say all we want about the lack of success in Toronto, and holy fuck is it funny, but I do think that Austin Matthews is someone who is still legitimately one of the best players in the world. At 5, Matthew Tkachuk. Sorry, Flames fans, but we have to put Matthew Tkachuk on this list. I don't know how far down we would have to go to put a Calgary Flame on this list, but it is, I would say, significantly further down the 10th. Matthew Tkachuk is just so good. And we finally saw it put together in the playoffs. I know he kind of had a bit of a reputation as being a playoff performer, but if you watched him here in Calgary, he kind of wasn't. Like he would get, he could be, he absolutely could be, but there would be times where he would kind of get caught up in just like, hey, it's the playoffs, I'm gonna get under their skin. And it was his sole purpose in life was to be a fuck. And all he wanted to do was just be an absolute little prick. And it took him out of the play a lot in some of those series. And I think really hindered Calgary when they needed less of that and a little bit more of like, hey, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Can you just two hands on the wheel and guide us here? Because you have that play style that we need. He has figured that out in Florida. His playmaking ability is excellent. He has some of the best hockey IQ in the league, I think, in terms of how he is able to see the ice and how he is able to kind of manipulate things out there. He has a big body that he can go out into all of the hard areas and help create some opportunities. And then the skill to immediately transition into, I have just bullied the puck away from you, and now we are going to get this. He has creativity on offense, which you love, and he has a really good scoring touch. He checks a lot of the boxes that you would like. And also, like, it was when he was playing with Backlund and Frolik, so, you know, it was what it was, but he can be pretty good in his own end as well. I think waiting until about a few minutes into the why Matthew Tkachuk is the best player in the league to mention his defense, I think is appropriate, but I do think that you can kind of trust him in your own end to a certain degree. At number 4, it's Cale Makar. He's the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. He does everything. I know the default when you see a guy who is out there skating really, really well, is to assume that it's Erik Karlsson or one of those guys that, oh yeah, what's he doing in his own end? He is really good in his own end. He and Devon Toews are so clearly the best defensive duo in the National Hockey League, and they, I think, really do give you a sense of calm when they are out there. And like, I will never forget, Colorado was playing Edmonton. I'm pretty sure it was Edmonton. I might be wrong on this one. So maybe I will forget. But there was a play that he had. I am 99% sure it was McDavid who was racing down the ice past him. And he, not that I think he is 100% like the same skater that he and McDavid are. And if they skated for 20 years, neither of them would get ahead of each other in a marathon or anything like that. But when he's busting it, he can get back at there and break that up. And so he has been the real example of the evolution of the defender in the National Hockey League, where it's not just, I'm big Chris Pronger and I got long reach and you can't get past. It's no longer that. And it's no longer, oh, this guy, he's rail thin and he just skates really well, but he has a good shot from the blue line, so we put him as a defenseman. That doesn't work. He has evolved this position to the point where you can use this skating now as a defensive weapon, as both a transition defense thing to limit opportunities, but also in your own end, that just short burst speed that you can have to break things up. It's really, really good. And I don't know if this was a thing before. I've only been in this world for a couple of years now, but since my full-time exit from Sportsnet 960, I have been lucky enough to do play-by-play for a number of different junior is saying a bit too. Oh, I've done a bunch of junior hockey too, but a bunch of minor hockey tournaments and varying skill sets, obviously. But the one thing I've really noticed is a lot of teams now put their best skater as a defenseman. And I don't know if that was something that was happening before or what it was, but I do think that the fact that it's happening so much is a testament to what Cale Makar is doing, which doesn't necessarily mean he is, that doesn't just put you on this list, but it just shows the impact that he has had. At 3, it's Nathan MacKinnon, does everything you would want. He sees the ice so well, is the probably second best skater in the league. Goal scoring, yes. Playmaking ability, yes. Leadership, yes. All of those things. I feel bad. Like I feel like I have to justify the guys further down the list. And so when you get to the top 3, it's like, yeah, you know. And it feels like I don't talk up these guys enough. Like, this is one of the best players I've ever seen in my life. I say that understanding that my life is now coming up on 35 years. So it's been watching this thing for a while now. And he's legitimately one of the best players I've ever seen. He's my favorite player to watch. The shot is amazing. The speed is electric. It is what he does with that speed and how he is able to take over games. Very few have been able to do. And so I think you have to give him major props for that. At 2, Leon Draisaitl. big body. This playoff, he didn't really do it all that much because he was, I think, very obviously banged up. But he has shown in the past that he can be playoff performer. And again, does everything you would want. Playmaking, scoring, skating, all of those things. He does that so incredibly well. He raises up players on his line and makes them all better. And I think something that is very interesting about him, he is very good at also being Robin on a line, right? Like he's a very good Batman. And on based on how this list is, as the number 2 player in the world, and I think we all kind of know who number 1 is. If he's on any other team in the league, he's the best player on that team. And so, like, there aren't many cases where he is going to be Robin. He is a very, 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 very good Batman. But during the playoffs, when I think it was clear that he was banged up, and they would put him on the line with Connor McDavid, all of a sudden, he knows how to fit into that role. It's not just like, oh, there's only one puck. How are they going to figure it out? It's like, okay, no. That's that guy. So I feel like I need to now shift into this role. And he played the complementary role perfectly. I don't think there's any role he can't play on the ice. I love the talent. And at 1, it's Connor McDavid. I think like that playoff run is one of the great playoff runs we will ever see in our lives. It is incredible what he was able to do. And I am not saying he is the best player ever, because I do think resume has to count in that conversation. But similar to Patrick Mahomes right now in the NFL, this is the best player, the most talented player I have ever seen. And that, I know who that includes. But when you look at the speed that he is able to do things and the precision, the hand, like just everything is perfect about his game at a speed that no one's been able to play at before. It is remarkable what he is able to do. So will he have a career the same as a Wayne Gretzky? I think very clearly not. He's almost basically run out of time too already, which is more a testament to Gretzky than a knock on McDavid, but definitely a knock on the Oilers. But in terms of just pure on the ice talent, I have a hard time believing anyone's better ever than Connor McDavid. So that is my top 10 list of best players in the NHL.